It was 7 years ago that we saw the release of one of the best works of the 8th generation and one of the most successful games in video history. In its third adaptation of The Witcher's novels, the not-so-prominent CD Projekt Red company created an extraordinary role-playing style title and captivated millions of people around the world. I don't need to talk about the successes of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt anymore, because almost all of us know about them. The second most honored game in history in terms of obtaining HIGHER.T titles, selling more than 30 million copies by mid-2021, raising the value of CD Projekt Red's shares to more than a few $billion. The Witcher 3 was an all-out success with all its shortcomings. We've had a huge loss of CD Projekt Red with its fatal mistake during the development of Cyberpunk 2077, the dignity and prestige it had before the audience, and it showed it's still a long way from reaching its magnitude. In these semi-critical situations, only one thing could have improved the conditions of the CD Projekt Red: introducing the new version of the Witcher series, even without releasing anything special and only by statement. What we witnessed a few weeks ago, and it has been officially confirmed that The Witcher 4, or whatever its name, is in development and is under construction with the powerful Unreal Engine 5. Usually, when it comes to The Witcher 3, everyone's mind shifts toward the game's extraordinary strengths, such as the crazy side stages, the fascinating story, and the like. But the truth is, The Witcher 3 had a lot of problems, both large and small, within itself. Now, considering the introduction of The Witcher 4, we will look at things that can make the experience of this title more complete than before. One of the most important things for open-world role-playing title is the RPG elements and things like loot drop. In the title of The Witcher 3, apart from a series of special items, almost all of the loot in chests and items from drop enemies have a random structure, and its type and specificity are not known. The problem with this is that it drastically reduces the likelihood of finding a good item of any kind, and you may loot hundreds of chests but don't even find a proper sword or armor. This was a bit problematic for a role-playing title in the dimensions of The Witcher 3. It is true that the game offered a limited build series to the audience, but the truth is that the loot pool of the Witcher series in the 4th version should be transformed. The purpose of loot pool is all items that can be found, and the loot pool system acts like a random selection device and chooses one or more of the available items. Another big problem heading The Witcher 3 was the strange limitations in the drop loot system. For example, if you were the 15th level and you killed the enemy of the 20th, any sword, armor or item from which the enemy drops, the level is limited to your current level, and in fact, the game The Witcher 3 never rewards the audience for defeating a stronger and more challenging enemy. And in general, this doesn't help you in terms of rewards and bonuses, defeating far stronger enemies, because the drop loot system depends on your current level. These two things made me personally not so interested in looting, because unlike most similar works such as Skyrim, the items obtained were mostly useless and weak, and the randomness of drop loot and its limitation to the current flutter are two important factors in this discussion. In the next version, I hope that this system will be completely changed. First of all, that unprovoked limitation of the drop loot level must be lifted. If you defeat a tough enemy, you must receive a worthy reward. Of course, an obvious case in the works is role-playing. Just look at Skyrim or Elden Ring. The next item that needs to be changed is drop loot game. A considerable amount of Lotus items must be specified in chests to make surfing and loot useful and not dependent on luck and accident. Of course, it should be noted that in general, The Witcher 3 has performed excellently in terms of the diversity and attractiveness of these question marks or points of interest, and unlike the Ubisoft Opens Worlds, the entire map has not been filled with bandits' camps, and from monsters' houses to bandit camps, captured areas and caves, we have seen a good variety in this area. However, it was quite obvious to me, especially in Skellige, that many points of interests were included in the game only in order to fill the content because there were neither specific items found nor a particular battle. Most of you have to go deep into the water and loot the chests. I think if in Witcher 4 the number of points of interests decreases a bit, but instead their depth, details and lots increase, both the completeness of these points of interests will be more enjoyable and gamers will not waste their time with unprovoked activities. If you have experienced The Witcher 3 when launching, you are probably aware of the game's extensive technical problems when launching. Frame drops, various graphic bugs and similar items were impressive early in the supply. Although over time and the release of numerous updates the game became much more stable, however, the technical stability of the game was far from ideal. Technical problems continued to plague Cyberpunk 2077 to show that Red Engine is no longer responsive to new games, and on the other hand, the CD Projekt rejects not enough ability to optimize. Optimization is one of the things in which weakness can completely destroy the experience of a game. A massive game with poor optimization is like a powerful car that wants to move with worn tires. Given the disaster of Cyberpunk 2077, it seems that the CD Projekt does not want to repeat the mistakes of the past, and the migration to the Unreal Engine 5 reflects that we can hope to encounter a far more stable title than the studio's previous works. This is my biggest criticism of The Witcher 3. No matter what quest or point of interest you were doing, the rewards you were receiving were not at all valuable and useful. I remember just in the form of one of the sub-quests, we had to help one of the Novigrad blacksmiths, and after doing a lot of different things, the reward for finishing this quest was a typical sword that I sold the same sword to the blacksmith himself immediately after receiving the sword. This can be seen in every activity and stage of the game. That is, the reward we received at the end of a mission was in no way satisfying and was often far weaker than our current armor or sword. Even Witcher gears are not that wonderful if we look at their details, and their bonus could have been far more useful and powerful. In essence, exploring and rewarding is the most important part of a great role-playing game. Just take a look at Skyrim, Dragon Age Inquisition or Elden Ring. Defeating a strong enemy or finishing a quest is always accompanied by numerous and powerful rewards that can perfectly make our character more powerful. Even God of War, which is not inherently role-playing, made the issue far better and more complete than The Witcher 3, and defeating any strong enemy or side activity was a very good reward. I hope this issue has been completely resolved in The Witcher 4 and the prizes and rewards will be strengthened both in terms of number and quantity and in terms of efficiency and usefulness. Don't forget that a role-playing title is defined by classic RPG elements, and the weakness in these elements means weaknesses and deficiencies in the overall gaming experience. One of the strange things in The Witcher 3 was the incredibly low impact of gamer decisions. There were only 4 or 5 special cases in the whole game where we could change the fate of characters or events, and otherwise we didn't see a broad branch narrative or vital decisions. Worst of all, the endgame was dependent on the small and low-key decisions we had when talking and interacting with Ciri, and we didn't see a big or specific decision. The essence of a classic role-playing title is tied up with critical decisions. What a title like Dragon Age Inquisition is far more powerful in. We don't know anything about The Witcher 4 yet, but I personally strongly welcome the influence of choices and branch narrative. What do you think of this? What new things should be present in The Witcher 4? What improvements can help the game?